After Reconstruction, Episode 1, A Nation Reborn? Could the Civil War end without deciding what freedom meant? The American Civil War ended in April of 1865. The Confederacy surrendered. Slavery, as a legal institution, was dying. And after 4 years of devastating war, many Americans believed the nation's greatest crisis had finally come to an end. But had it? The truth is that ending the Civil War proved much easier than rebuilding the peace. How do you reunite a nation that has fought itself? How do you restore 11 former Confederate states to the Union? What rights should 4 million newly emancipated men, women, and children possess? And perhaps the most important question of all, what did freedom actually mean? Those questions define one of the most important and controversial periods in American history, Reconstruction. Reconstruction lasted from 1865 until 1877. Its goals were ambitious: restore the Union, rebuild the South, define citizenship after slavery, protect the rights of formerly enslaved people, and determine the relationship between the states and the federal government after the Civil War. These goals often reinforced one another, but just as often they came into conflict. Even before the war officially ended, President Abraham Lincoln had begun planning for Reconstruction. His approach emphasized a relatively quick restoration of the southern states while encouraging them to abolish slavery and establish loyal governments. Lincoln hoped that reconciliation would strengthen the Union. But on April 14, 1865, only days after General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox, Lincoln was assassinated. Vice President Andrew Johnson suddenly inherited one of the most difficult presidencies in American history. One of the first major achievements of Reconstruction came with the 13th Amendment, ratified in December 1865. It abolished slavery throughout the United States except as punishment for a crime. Legally, slavery had ended. But emancipation raised entirely new questions. Did freedom simply mean no longer being enslaved? Or did it also include education, political participation, legal protection, economic opportunity, and equal citizenship? For millions of formerly enslaved Americans, freedom meant far more than legal emancipation. Families searched for relatives who had been separated by slavery. Communities established churches and schools. Men volunteered to vote and hold public office. Women built civic organizations that strengthened Black communities throughout the South. Recognizing the enormous challenges facing the South, Congress established the Freedmen's Bureau in March 1865, officially known as the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands. It distributed food, supervised labor contracts, established schools, provided medical care, and helped formerly enslaved people navigate the transition to freedom. Although the Bureau never possessed enough money, personnel, or political support to accomplish everything its supporters hoped, it represented one of the first large-scale federal efforts to protect civil rights in American history. At the same time, however, many Southern governments moved quickly to restrict Black freedom. Across the South, legislatures enacted Black codes designed to limit African American mobility, labor choices, political participation, and economic independence. These laws convinced many members of Congress that simply abolishing slavery would not secure meaningful freedom. The nation had ended slavery. It had not yet settled the meaning of liberty. This is where historians ask an important question. Was Reconstruction simply about rebuilding the South after the Civil War? Or was it a constitutional revolution that attempted to redefine American citizenship itself? Modern historians generally agree that Reconstruction represented one of the most significant transformations in American history, but they continue to debate why those changes proved so difficult to sustain. As we move through this series, we'll examine those competing interpretations using evidence rather than assumptions. In our next episode, we'll examine how disagreements between President Andrew Johnson and Congress transformed Reconstruction into a constitutional and political struggle. We'll explore the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the 14th Amendment, and the growing conflict over who would determine the future of the reunited nation. Because while the Civil War had ended The battle over the meaning of freedom had only just begun. Please hit the subscribe button. It costs nothing, but really helps out the channel. Also, if you feel moved to help in the production of the videos like this, for less than a cup of coffee, you can join the Patreon at https://www.patreon.com/15468 469/join.